One was mocked on late-night TV. One costs more than a mansion. Yet every A-lister either owns one, drove one, or is secretly trying to get on a wait list. Why do these 5 cars keep showing up in paparazzi shots, music videos, and Netflix docuseries? Today we'll reveal the 5 cars Hollywood never let go of, and why. Tesla Model S. Silent wheels gliding down Sunset Boulevard, paparazzi lights buzzing. The Tesla Model S pulls up. Not loud, but loaded with intention. Look at nearly any celeb car list from Los Angeles and the Model S pops up like clockwork. It appears in Jennifer Garner's garage, perched elegantly beside a suburban gate. Will Smith swapped his V8 growl for near-silent torque. Leonardo DiCaprio, heavy into climate activism, treats Tesla like a collection of values on wheels. That kind of repeated exposure builds a pattern. This car becomes a badge, not for power, but for conscience wrapped in luxury. The magic shows in specs. The current Plaid trim sends 0 to 60 mile/hour times under 2 seconds in perfect conditions. The floor battery gives a real driving range that fits LA's patchy traffic. Inside, a full-screen interface, over-the-air updates, and app control make it a smartphone on wheels. Rolling up to a gala in a Model S sends a distinct message. I care about the planet, and I can afford to prove it. Yet behind the clean exterior, small cracks surface. Conversation among owners mentions panel gaps, rattles, and occasional software hiccups. On long shoots outside the city, charging access proves tricky. Some early adopters lose faith once valet lots become repeated parking displays, and that flashy environmental stand starts feeling overexposed. Still, the Model S holds its grip because it solves an image problem many celebrities quietly wrestle with. It lets them drive fast, sleep easy, and step onto red carpets without leaving a giant footprint, literally and figuratively. When studios or award shows call for green credentials, this EV lines up with that script. It blends wealth, speed, conscience, and subtlety. Here's the paradox. The more common the Model S becomes among stars, the stronger its hidden power grows. This badge of responsibility becomes almost a baseline norm for modern celebrity rather than a bold statement. And as you exit the valet drive and step into neon lights, you realize, if the Model S stands for conscience, the next car on our list stands for something very different. Noisy authority, visible status, and zero apologies. Mercedes-Benz G-Class. Some SUVs keep a low profile. This one shows up like a celebrity before the actual celebrity steps out. The Mercedes-Benz G-Class doesn't just roll through LA, it dominates the visual space. Angular, tall, unapologetically bold, it started life as a military vehicle and somehow ended up as the unofficial uniform of A-listers, rappers, influencers, and action stars. Its evolution from armored field gear to luxury red carpet accessory is part of what gives it that strange cultural magnetism. Let's talk names. Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, Drake, Sylvester Stallone, Megan Fox, Dwayne Johnson, all are repeatedly photographed near G-Wagons, often with custom touches or wrapped in colors not found on any Mercedes showroom floor. Kylie has famously owned multiple versions. Drake has used Brabus-tuned G63s that push horsepower and bodywork into hyper territory. These aren't just rides, they're statements. Why this car? Because it's instantly recognizable. That boxy silhouette stands out in a sea of curves and crossovers. The upright windshield, external spare tire, and visible hinges signal rugged. But the luxury badging, LED halos, and V8 engine sound say something else entirely. You're looking at money that doesn't follow rules. Underneath the show is real substance. The G-Wagon's ladder frame chassis, locking differentials, and off-road credibility give it technical authority. Yes, it can scale trails and bash through snow, but most G-Wagons live in Beverly Hills, where the most dangerous terrain is a paparazzi cluster outside Craig's. The hardware becomes part of the myth, capable but rarely tested. That said, it's not perfect. Critics note that it's loud inside. The ride is stiff. Fuel consumption is borderline criminal, and in certain circles, it's seen as too try-hard. For every post praising the G-Class as a power move, there's another one mocking its overuse among Instagram-famous personalities. When a luxury icon turns mainstream, exclusivity fades. Still, the G-Wagon's emotional power stays strong. It photographs beautifully. It towers over traffic. It tells a story of a rival, of a person who went from being overlooked to now owning a vehicle once built for generals. For many celebs, it symbolizes a battle won. And then there's the visual irony. When stars want less attention, fewer angles, and a quieter ride to set, they switch gears entirely. The next SUV on the list is built for those behind-the-scenes moments. Private, powerful, and unmistakably refined. Range Rover. You'll spot it outside studios, tucked behind trailers, or gliding up to private terminals. It doesn't roar for attention. It waits for your name on the call sheet. Range Rover doesn't shout status like a G-Wagon or whisper legacy like a Rolls. It occupies the in-between space where work and wealth intersect. It's what a Hollywood star climbs into after 12 hours on set. It's also what picks them up when they land at LAX on a red-eye with a script in hand and jet lag in their bones. The long history matters. Range Rover has been around since the 1970s and always sat at the crossroads of British royalty, fashion elites, and practical design. Queen Elizabeth drove one, so did Princess Diana. The cultural gravity carried over to the West Coast. Jay-Z rapped about his. Victoria Beckham helped design a limited edition model. Reese Witherspoon gets papped weekly in hers doing grocery runs in Brentwood. Bruce Springsteen, Anthony Joshua, even Daniel Craig have been linked to the brand. But it's not the fame that makes it Hollywood's backstage favorite. It's the function. Full-size Rovers and Range Rover Sports are built to cocoon their passengers. Air suspension levels out pothole-ridden studio roads. Rear entertainment screens, heated and ventilated seats, and massaging backrests turn the back row into a mobile prep lounge. Hair and makeup teams get work done mid-transit. Stylists lay outfits flat across the rear bench on the way to a premiere. And when it rains or the Malibu hillside slips into mud, it doesn't flinch. All-wheel drive, terrain response systems, and clever traction control mean Range Rovers can climb, wade, or glide through LA's few remaining patches of wild terrain. That's real value when the shoot location swaps downtown for the desert. Still, there are thorns on this rose. Reliability jokes are so common they become meme-worthy. Warning lights, check engine mysteries, and high-cost maintenance dog the brand even now. A-list owners admit they keep their service contact on speed dial. Even so, the appeal holds strong. Why? Because it delivers discretion with dignity. It looks good enough for paparazzi, but humble enough for a serious meeting. The large tinted glass, muted color palettes, and refined design let stars move with minimal disruption. In an image-obsessed industry, the Range Rover is a rare SUV that both blends in and says, "I've made it." And that leads us to a wildly different turn. From restrained elegance, we're jumping into the most unexpected trendsetter. A car that once got mocked but reshaped Hollywood's relationship with environmentalism. Toyota Prius. One small hybrid rolled onto a red carpet and changed how Hollywood talked about responsibility. It didn't growl, it didn't gleam, yet it made more noise culturally than half the supercars in town. Go back to the early 2000s, before Instagram, before Tesla fever, before eco-friendly became a marketable aesthetic. LA smog reports filled headlines, award shows sprinkled climate messages between categories, and stars were suddenly caught between their public values and their private V12 engines. Then the Prius arrived. Quiet, efficient, humble, and somehow became the hottest talking point on Hollywood Boulevard. The wave started with early adopters like Leonardo DiCaprio, Cameron Diaz, Meryl Streep, Ed Begley Jr., and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. DiCaprio pulled up to the 2003 Oscars in a Prius escorted by hybrid chauffeur cars. Studios loved the optics. Activists praised the move. Overnight, the Prius turned into a badge, a symbol that said, "I'm trying to help." When famous faces stepped out of one, the message hit harder than any speech. But the story deepens. The hybrid tech felt futuristic at the time. Battery-assisted acceleration, regenerative braking, fuel economy in the mid-40s to 50 miles per gallon when gas prices kept climbing. In a city built on long drives, that mattered. And because the Prius looked slightly odd, it allowed celebrities to signal sincerity. You couldn't hide behind chrome or carbon fiber. The car forced humility. And paradoxically, that humility became chic. Of course, the Prius faced mockery. Stand-up comics roasted its shape. Car buffs groaned at its lack of power. Paparazzi photos comparing a Prius leaving a valet lot behind a Ferrari turned into running jokes. Yet those uncool moments actually reinforced the message. These stars cared enough to accept the awkwardness. Over time, Tesla stepped in with cleaner lines, faster performance, and digital glamour. The Prius faded from Hollywood's front row spotlight. But here's the twist. It never vanished. Directors, producers, longtime activists, and actors who built their brands around environmental messaging still drive them. The Prius stands as the quiet pioneer, the car that made eco-luxury possible. It softened the ground for Tesla, normalized hybrids on red carpets, and shifted the meaning of status. And this brings us to the final entry, the car that travels in the opposite direction of humility. A vehicle so drenched in power and prestige that when it rolls into a frame, the entire mood changes. A car that crowns its passengers. A car Hollywood treats like a rolling throne. Rolls-Royce Phantom. There are luxury cars, and then there's the Phantom. A car that doesn't just show up, it announces its presence like royalty. It's less transportation, more declaration. The red carpet arrives with you. In Hollywood, symbols matter. The Phantom remains one of the few vehicles that hasn't shifted with trends. It defines them. From the 1930s silver screen era to the era of streaming billionaires, it has stayed rooted in tradition while adapting to every generation's idea of class. Think of it like this. While Teslas buzzed into the spotlight with future tech and G-Wagons muscled their way into relevance, the Rolls-Royce Phantom never needed to try. It simply stayed seated on the throne while others entered the game. It's a name tied to a serious legacy. Fred Astaire, Elizabeth Taylor, and Cary Grant all had Rolls models. Today, stars like Kim Kardashian, David Beckham, and Shah Rukh Khan continue the tradition. Unlike most cars, the Phantom exists beyond trends. Hello Magazine, Money Beach, and Teslarati all listed among the top vehicles for celebrities who have transcended typical fame and now operate on a different level, where cars are no longer purchases, but statements. Technically, it's unmatched. Powered by a massive V12, the Phantom's ride is almost unnaturally quiet. Inside, you'll find hand-stitched leather, bespoke materials, and the famous Starlight headliner, a ceiling embedded with fiber optics that simulate a night sky. You sit behind doors that open backward and close at the press of a button. Most owners never touch the wheel. Chauffeurs do the driving because the real experience begins in the rear cabin. It's huge, heavy, and shockingly expensive to maintain. Fuel efficiency borders on irrelevant, and its presence is so commanding that many celebs avoid it altogether. They don't want every streetlight to feel like a spotlight. The Phantom isn't for casual fame. It's for those who see themselves as institutions. But that's exactly why it holds power. In a world full of fast-turn fame and viral stunts, the Phantom is slow, deliberate, and unfazed. It's the kind of car that doesn't care what's trending. It assumes it will be in the photo no matter what. When a Rolls-Royce Phantom glides past, no one asks who's inside. They already know it's someone who arrived years ago and stayed. Every car told a story, but the next one rewrote the rules. If you think fame moves in silence, wait till you hear the engine roar. Click the next story. It's waiting.